Hello everyone, welcome to today's science lesson. I hope you're enjoying these lessons and working along really well with them. If you're getting stuck, remember you can always email me and hopefully you're making use of the feedback that I'm giving from the quizzes to improve your knowledge. Well, as always, we're going to start with our retrieval practice. 3 questions today on the hearing range of humans and the ear. So I will leave you for a few seconds to get on with those. Please pause the video and when you're ready, unpause and we'll carry on. In today's lesson, we're going to look about how sound travels through different materials. And this links up with things we've learned earlier in the year. For example, we've often described materials as being either solids, liquids or gases, and we've learnt about how the particles are arranged inside those 3 states of matter. And that's something we'll need to use during today's lesson. The one thing I do know is that sounds in air actually travel slower than sounds in a liquid or in a solid. And these whales, so this is I think it looks like a blue whale, the biggest animal on the planet and the biggest animal in the ocean as well. The sounds they make can travel vast distances, over 700 kilometers. So at the end of today's lesson, when we review our learning, this is what I want you to have achieved. To use that particle model, to remember that from the diagram there, to describe and explain. So we're not only going to say what happens, we're going to give a reason for it. Why there are differences about how sound can travel through a solid, a liquid and a gas. And I suspect, being the bright people that you are, that you've already got some ideas about what's happening there. There's just one misconception I want to get rid of today that I hear a lot before we go further. The misconception is that sound can't travel through solids and liquids. And that's clearly not true. And how do you know that? Okay, have you ever been in a swimming pool and put your head underwater? Can you still hear sounds around you? If you think about it, you absolutely know that you can. They might be muffled, I agree, and they're certainly not as clear as, someone speaking next to you on the side of the pool, but there's still sound, so you know that sound can travel through a liquid. And the other one I hear is that sound can pass through a vacuum. Well, a vacuum, not something you hoover the carpet with. A vacuum is a space that doesn't have any particles in it. And what have we learnt about the way that sound travels? It's set up, isn't it, by particles vibrating. So how could sound travel through a vacuum? It can't. It's just not true, is it? Here's our learning outcomes for you to read in a little bit more detail. And again, we'll review them at the end of the lesson so you can assess how well you've gotten on today. So this is a really interesting little thing to explore. It's just what I was talking about. There's a video, as you can see, and I will attach a link to that in today's lessons notes. What I'm interested in is how could we prove that you don't hear sound in a vacuum? So I've got a little bit of apparatus at school where we can place one of these old-fashioned alarm clocks into a glass container, and I can use a vacuum pump to take all of the air out of that glass container. And what do you think happens as the air is removed? Well, you probably won't be surprised to learn that actually when we remove all the air from the container, you cannot hear the bell. And it's a bit odd because you can see the little hammer on the top of the bell moving between the 2 little bells that are making the sound, but you cannot hear any sound. And what is the reason for that? Well, the reason is, of course, is that to have sound, you need particles, because it's the particles vibrating that create a sound wave. So have a look at that video and then please answer those 2 questions in your book. Now, sound will travel through most materials, but it will travel at different speeds. And I want to think about why that is. Again, there's a video which I'll link up to within the notes for today's lesson. But when you're watching the video, will you think about how quickly sound is travelling through solids, liquids and gases? So first of all, describe the difference and then start to think about why there is a difference. Now, what sort of information do you need to be able to answer that question? What are you going to think back to? And hopefully you're thinking back to our states of matter and the particle arrangement within each state. Again, there are 3 questions there for you to have a look at and then for you to answer in your exercise books. Now, our skills focus today is mathematically based. The hint is here that you need some graph paper. Now, you may not have that at home, but if it's possible, you can print a piece. There's lots of free sources of this on the internet. And think about how you would display this material. Remember, if you look at the data here, we've only got one set of numbers, and the rest of this is categories. So we've got categoric data. What sort of graph are we going to need to present categoric data? Now, if you need a clue, email me and I'll send you a clue, but I think you know the answer to that, and I think you know how that would be best presented. Remember that once you've got your graph as well, I'm asking you to draw a conclusion, write a conclusion. Now, to do that, what I want you to look at is whether the material is a solid, a liquid or a gas. What could you say about how quickly sound travels through solid, liquids and gases based on the graph that you've just drawn? Well, you've already been thinking about this, and I suspect you've come up with a pretty good idea already about, working out why it is that sound can travel more quickly through a solid than it can travel through a gas. And it's definitely to do with the way that the particles are arranged inside solids, liquids and gases, isn't it? So we should know that sound can travel more quickly through the solid, but why? And it actually is a very straightforward answer. Hopefully we haven't overcomplicated this, but we know, don't we, that the particles inside our solid are touching each other and they can vibrate, but that's about as much movement as they've got. But for sound, this is a real advantage. So as the sound wave is being set up, remember that's particles vibrating. This particle vibrates, and then it passes on that vibration to the next one and the next one and so on. So the sound is being communicated and traveling quite quickly. If we look at a liquid, our particles are further apart. So even if this particle is vibrating, it's only going to pass that vibration on when it comes into contact with another particle. And with a gas, well, the particles are high energy and they're further apart. So this particle might be vibrating, but it might be a short while before it hits this particle and passes that vibration on. Therefore, the transmission of sound is going to be more slowly. Let's try applying that knowledge to something a little bit differently. So temperature can also affect the speed of sound. I'd like you to develop a hypothesis. Now, to remind you, a hypothesis is a statement that can be tested. Now, I don't want to say one about sound because I want you to come up with your own. But if I was thinking about something else to do with temperature, it might be, my hypothesis about ice cream and temperature might be, is that ice cream melts more quickly at higher temperatures. And that's something that I could use some basic scientific equipment to test out, isn't it? So see what you can come up with and then tell me why you've adopted that hypothesis. Our plenary today is to look at these 3 really interesting questions. And once you've read them, use your science. Think about what you know. Please don't come up with generic answers or you're just plucking ideas out of the air that seem like a good idea. All 3 have scientific responses based on your learning today. So again, think about the strategies you could use if you get stuck with these questions. Where could you find the information to help? I promise you that if you go back through the video, you've got lots to support your answers to these questions. And that brings us neatly to our learning outcomes for a quick review of how well you've done today. So as always, we read through them, don't we? And then we check and assess where we're at. I wonder what you've done today to help keep yourself focused. Has it worked? Have you been focused today? Have you been able to, watch the videos and make sense of this? If you've not been focused today, what might you do in the next science lesson to improve your focus? Are you sitting somewhere that's quiet enough for you to be able to think? Is it perhaps, maybe you actually want to share this lesson with someone else who's at home that might help you with your focus? Well, I thank you for your hard work today. Make sure, please, everything is up to date in your exercise book, and don't forget to go off and do the quiz that goes with this lesson so that I can give you some feedback. And I'll see you next time.